What's up, y'all? It's Sunday, July 21st, and this is Throwing Light. I'm LTJ Reeds, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Tonight, we have a really awesome, fantastic guest. I'm really excited about this. Before I bring him in, I do want to remind you that this program has been uplifted and supported by Ashwell Sexual Health and Wellness in Austin. They are a local organization that helps with giving the community things they need, resources. They even have a food bank. So, well, if you could go to ashwellatx.org and donate or read about their service, and maybe they could be of help over to you. You can be anywhere in the world and donate to Ashwell, or you could even donate to their food bank. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get tonight's interview. I have Chris Conde here. And if you don't know Chris, this is a very popular queer artist in our community. I'm glad to have him here tonight. Chris, hey, what's up? How are you?
What's up? Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. I want to first say thank you for taking time out because you have to be super busy, especially recently with the whirlwind of things that have happened and come into your life. But before we get
Yeah.
into all of that, let's talk a little about you. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and where you come from and what you do?
Yeah. So I'm a rapper. I have been rapping professionally for over a decade, touring, putting out music, and trying to, be a rock star, I guess, But I grew up all over the world. My parents were military, so I bounced around a lot. And then I spent uh a long time in Texas, and that's kind of where I got my start. And that's where I actually got my start in like the leather world as well. Um, and yeah, and then I've just been kind of combining my love for leather, kink, and music into one sort of like package, and people are taking notice more lately, I guess. So yeah.
Oh, if people that know or people that are watching, they might not know. Rolling Stones just had an article about your basically your impact and the things that you represent and how people respond to you. I just happen to be going through my um X or Twitter, or whatever we call it, and I see this post and it's you, and this conservative woman has shown it, and
Yeah.
saying all these things and criticizing your appearance. I looked at a lot of the comments. They were like, she was like, "What kind of person?" People were like, "This is somebody that's living their best life." That was one of the
Mhm.
comments.
Yeah.
You have, before we get into that and talk about that, your music, the type of music you make. Um, what do you like to write about as a rapper, and what do you like to express? I know you're very sex positive. Is that a lot of what your inspiration behind your music is?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, like, I honestly didn't really start rapping about such like sex and like kink till the last couple years, and it's just the journey. I rap about the journey that I'm on. Like when I was going through getting, I've been sober for 10 years, and like when I was going through that, I was rapping a lot about that. I was processing like wanting to get off drugs and then getting off drugs, getting off of alcohol, like stopping drinking, and I think like I in the last like 5 years really started to experience a lot of sexual liberation through leather and kink, and like being comfortable in my own body, which like leather kind of helps facilitate, and um so I kind of just rap about like what's going on with me at the moment, which I think most artists do, but like I mean I have songs about yeah, overcoming internalized homophobia, overcoming drug addiction. And then I have just songs about like loving Lisa Frank. Like just whatever it is, but yeah, lately it's a lot of it has been definitely more like sexual. I'm heavily involved in these spaces, where um where leather people gather and where kinksters gather. Just and that's kind of what I'm talking about a lot when I'm writing. It's like just I'm in this energy, So am I going to continue to write about sex? Like, probably. Will it be the only thing I ever write about? Probably not, because like we are, you know, I think it was really important for me to communicate like queer sex because I think it's important right now to communicate that this is part of the normal queer experience. This is part of the human experience, right? And since we are fellow human beings as queer people, I think it's important to let people know. And I felt like this through the art, like queer sex is good. Queer sex is good. Sex is positive, you know, and we're multifaceted human beings. Are queer people are it's valid to have a full human experience, which sex is a part of. You know what I mean? Like we shouldn't be ashamed of it. And it's very and like the music I put out is very abrasive and very gay, which I'm like kind of living in right now. So
Yeah. Okay, so let's focus a bit on body image here. Like because you don't give a F, you don't care. Like you're all about being comfortable in your body and who you are. If you don't want to wear much clothing, you're not going to wear much clothing. If you do, you do. You got your moods, you know who you are. How do you feel with people coming at your self-expression? And does that empower you more? Does it make you, feel like you need to justify anything that you're doing to anybody that criticizes you? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, I think like bodies come up no matter what, and I also like understand where people are coming from. Like they see me being like a big boy on stage with with no clothes on, and they're like, but why weren't you taught to be ashamed of for being fat? Weren't you taught to be ashamed of your body in general? Weren't you taught to be ashamed for being queer? And so I think it's a lot to process, and I think this is partly why this video went viral, um was that they saw me being confident, naked, fat, and really good at rap. And that was hard to process. You know what I mean? Like that was like people were like, wait, what? And so I think that I I kind of take empathy and hold empathy for people to be like, well, because it's easy, like a lot of people were asking me and hitting me up and were like, are you okay? Like this video is blowing up and people are saying kind of crazy stuff. And I did see some comments that were just like, what the fuck? But I mostly saw comments like, for instance, Joe Rogan be like, but that dude can rap, and like Azalea Banks being like, this dude, like, and like just random people just being like, you know what? They're living their best life. Like, I really didn't see there were no death threats. There were no like he should be ashamed. It was mostly just people being like what the fuck, LOL, or like, oh shit, like this person like they are they're in their shit, like they're doing their deal, and yeah, so no one really and in general too, like when you walk in confidence and you just like accept like right out like I think I'm not necessarily body positive. I'm body neutral. Like sometimes I don't love my body. I think it's a lot to put a lot of pressure on yourself for like loving your body in every single moment. I can't love my body in every single moment. I can just like let my body be my body and all the moments that I possibly can. Because that's way easier than hating it or loving it. So right now it's like I think it's okay to have health goals and also accept your body for where you're at right now and not let it keep you from going to the places that you want to be, whether that's a stage, whether that's a play party, whether that's the Eagle, whether that's, you know what I mean, whatever it is. So I think there have been people who've been like, wait, why do you dress like that? I'm like, because I'm gonna keep being me and doing me. And so you should be in your body doing whatever you want to do.
Have
And if
you
that's being naked, do it.
Have you been able to, you've performed at all kinds of different venues. What are some of the popular venues that you're able to perform at that have been outside of the queer spaces?
I mean, I don't play a ton of queer spaces in general. Like it's only been in the last like couple years, but like I played Lil Darlin, in Austin, which is like not a queer space, but it's like on paper it's a biker bar. You know what I mean? Like I don't, I yeah, most of the places I play, I mean, I love to play like queer parties. But yeah, I play a lot of just like, regular non queer identifying venues, but there's so many queer people who come to my shows that it just like it turns into a queer space, because it's like what is a gay venue? It's like we make it what it is. So it's like if there are queer artists performing and a bunch of faggots show up, it's like, bitch, it's a kiki. Like sorry, Chad and Joe. I played a show in oh, what was it? Oh God, I can't remember the venue, but it was in Santa Cruz, and these motherfuckers did not know what to do. I remember like I like stripped down to like my gear, which is just like a leather jockstrap, leather harness, and mirror cap in my boots. And I remember I heard this guy audibly gasp and was like, "Oh my God." And I started in one of my songs and I was like, "Hell yeah." And the dude stayed and watched the whole show, like, and it was definitely like a straight venue. There were definitely a lot of queer people there, but it was clear he was there for not the show and just was like at a bar, but yeah.
Why rap? Like, how did that start? What brought you to that?
I love rap. I mean, I grew up in the 90s. So like I remember like being a kid watching like Missy Elliott and like, you know, um, BIG and like all of these, Busta Rhymes and like these like iconic rap weirdos, right? And that's what I think. There was nothing like that. Like you didn't like seeing Busta Rhymes videos, like the Dangerous video, and he's just acting wild, and that always was like intriguing to me. That was like super punk rock, especially for that time. Um, and like I just was drawn to it and the rhythm, and then started writing poetry, and then somehow like I remember like put out some like songs with a friend on MySpace in like the early 2000s, just as like a joke, kind of. And all of our friends who were like all in these other bands were like, "Yo, you can rap. Like, you really can rap. You should really try this." And so I just kept doing it, you know. But yeah, so I don't know. I love doing it, and I've been doing it for so long. I'm just like, well, now it's like I've been rapping and touring, but I also do a bunch of other stuff, like I'm a singer and I play guitar. I played banjo for a church for a while. I like played drums in a psych rock band for a second. Like, I've been, I do a lot of things. My first instrument was viola, but like something about being able to get on stage and tell a story, and have people connect with it. Like, yeah, it feels good.
One of my dreams right now is to do a track with you. So I'm going to show you that I can hang, and then you'll be like, okay, you can do
Yeah, for sure. As long as we can be naked in the music video, we can do whatever. I'm down.
it. I already told you this. So how has rap and your artistry crossed into leather? Is
Yeah,
that what shifted me? Was that a new shift, and is that what started the sexual exploration through your rap, or was it before that?
I mean, it's you know, I remember I think it was always there. Like I was rapping. I always like threw stuff here and there about like, because one of the biggest things that I wanted to showcase, especially like like even like 2015, 2016 when I was like working on one of my first albums, um, I wanted to be like to let it was like really important for me to let other people know that I'm like really good at rap, but also like really good at sucking dick. You know, like I liked the juxtaposition of like hardcore rap, like this dude can spit, but he's like really gay. You know, because like I didn't really know a lot of other rappers who were really gay, you know, and very loud about it. And so I always threw little things here and there, you know. But yeah, you know, like I think leather kind of helped accelerate that, you know, like my one of my exes, I remember talking to him, I was like, you know, I really want to get a harness, but like nothing fits. And he dated mostly big boys, and he's like, you know, I have like an old harness that my ex just left here, and it fit me, and I was like, damn. And it was like and I felt sexy in it, you know. And this is the secret about leather, I think, you know, like because a lot of times people are like, why are you guys wear that costume? You guys look so ridiculous, or like, you know. And I'm like, you know, like you kind of feel like a superhero in this shit. And for me, especially being like everyone deals with like, you know, body dysmorphia on some level, no matter like if you have visible muscles, no matter if you don't have visible muscles, whatever it is, everyone deals with it. And it's something I didn't really understand till the last couple of years, but like when I get in leather, something something shifts in my head, and I'm like, I am strong. I am like I just love my body in it. I love seeing all of it, you know? And like I know I talk about like body neutrality, but it's like something about being in leather helps me accept it and helps me see it. Um and I think that's why people wear it, you know? And so getting into leather, getting into kink, getting onto all these things and exploring it has definitely like influenced how and like the music that I write. I remember I got like you know, I have a song called "Come on My Beard," you know, and the
C.
last song
That's how it's
C
COMB.
COMB, yeah. Um, and like I was a little I was like, am I gonna put? I remember writing that song, and I'm like, am I gonna really put this out? Like, this is wild. I remember thinking to myself, this is a wild song, you know. But I was like, you know what? This is where I'm at,
I love it.
and yeah, and so yeah, definitely leather is like, and then putting a mirror cap on for the first time, like something it put me in a headspace that I had never been in before. And I was like, I understand, like I am, and I felt like I wanted to represent the community as when I put that mirror cap on, huh?
So leather the thing that boosted your confidence and made you see yourself in a different light? Was it that
N-
particular thing?
no, I mean, I was showing my body before I started wearing leather, but leather definitely like helped. Leather definitely accelerated that, you know. Um, but it's all connected, and all of this happened within like a year and a half. Like I started to take my clothes off playing shows, and and then like I was starting to wear leather at my shows too, you know. And it was like all within like a year and a half, kind of like, so it was all connected, and it was all supposed to happen. You know. So
I think it's a phenomenal story. So Chris, every guest I have on Throwing Light, as we get towards the end of the show, I ask everybody the same question. Now I want to ask you that question, okay? Besides things that we've already talked to on our show this evening, is there any areas of the LGBTQI plus community that you think that is kind of not being addressed or shown enough light on that you think we should bring attention to?
yeah, you know, I think talking about like bodies, you know, talking about gender expression and leather, and like reminding people, like if you are a bigger person and you're listening to this podcast, and like, you know, you are not a cisgender white male listening to this podcast, it's like knowing that like you are valid, and knowing that you are, you know, worthy of like putting on leather and going to these spaces and these places and participating, you know. And that's something I think that like I want to see more of. Like I want to see more sizes. I want to see like more colors. I want to see more people participating. And that's something that's like not necessarily not being addressed in this moment, you know? But you know, when I go to like the Eagle, or I go to, you know, these like play spaces, it's like I'm generally, if there's like 200, 300 people at it, like yesterday, like there's like, you know, a bunch of people at this party, it's like I'm like one of like two bigger people, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I want to see more, you know, because I know that we exist, you know, and I know that like, and we don't have to be the outliers of our own community, you know what I mean? So I think like having conversations around like, you know, participation and leather and bodies, and, you know, letting people know that they are welcome, you know.
I would say a lot of mainstream gay culture. When I say mainstream gay culture, I'm particularly saying that culture tends to support the commercialization of two gay men doing something, that is funny, either having good fashion, be able to do something, that what was that show? Grace, Will and Grace, that type of thing. I still, to some degree, even though that's the 2000s, think that, a lot of straight people have uh that kind of like, oh, I have a gay friend
Yeah,
mentality.
right,
But what I am noticing is that, there needs to be a lot more representation in terms of the different types of people in the community. Like I
right,
said, there's not a lot, there's more lesbian focus than there has been in the past, but that's treated like it's just a phase. I'm a bisexual, pansexual person. Phase. Like, and so I see that we are not the reason why your presence and why it's stirred up the crowd is they don't see it enough. You're not the only person that's queer and expressing themselves. It's to them because you have all these other fantastic skills and gifts, and your presence makes it bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing is that leather culture is not a mainstream culture. Okay. And so, until that really happens, until the normal people, these rural people in these cities see us on television and something that's entertaining, they're not going to have any exposure to it and they're going to think negatively about it. Like drag queens are accessible to everyone now, all around the world, but leathermen are not, and the leather community is not. And a lot of activism comes from the leather community that fights for these things that we can do. So I feel like what you're doing needs to be celebrated more because you're accomplishing all these different things by just your existence and who you are and what your artistry is. You're able to, what I saw in those comments were people from various walks of life giving you props on doing you or talking about you because you weren't even a part of the conversation. But I saw the same thing you did. Eh, You know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah, totally,
I think I agree with you. I think that we need to see realities more. And I think, there is still a little bit of this like gay male attractive persona that is not everybody. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally agree, you know, like it it's just not, you know, from like a marketing perspective, it's like, you know, like, is it should we make a show about like, you know, like a fat tattooed leather rapper and like a black lesbian, and they're friends and they're getting into like, I would watch that. I would have started it, you know, but it's like I
Well,
understand
yeah, because but it's exposure. It's something.
totally. I would love for that to happen, you know what I mean? And but it's, I also understand like, yeah. A part of me, I feel like on the fence because I'm like, some a part of me does feel like we are underground, we are like, you know, but it's like I kind of like being like subversive in that, but it's also like we need to be accepted as like human beings more than we, you know what I mean? Like, and I think like the more that people see us in that light, we will start to see more changes for sure. So I agree with you on that.
We need to be humanized. That's my thing. We are not of their world. We're all, there's totally definitely two different realities going on in this country, but there are multiple realities going on in this country and going
Yeah.
on in the world. And, exposure is important. So, we might be, 10 years from now, we're having this conversation. We might have achieved that exposure, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, hey, mom, who's that on the television? Oh, that's a leather man. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they live here.
Yeah. They're over here. One of them is your barista. And that drag queen person, she's a school teacher, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like they are part of this, they're
And
part
like,
of our neighborhood.
it's not a big deal. I think what is off-putting for people, all of these are sexual expression, and
Yeah.
everyone has a different thing on that. We are sexual beings. I don't always lead with sex, or sexual ideas. Um, but there is something important though in the empowering that sex really shouldn't be as big of a deal, as serious as people take it out to be. And I think that's the what we do in our community is we explore that, and we're able to expand sex beyond like laying in a bed together and you know having
So
missionary style sex for 5 minutes and being done. You go back
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
For
know.
sure. I mean, and sex is it's a spectrum, and it's like we're capable of having all different kinds of experiences. But yeah, like we are more than just sex, but we also are sex too. You know what I mean? And that's kind of that's like where I'm at right now. It's like, oh yeah, like because like queer shame is a real thing. Queer like sexual shame is also a real thing, and like that's the conversation right now. It's like, oh, you're sexualizing, like you're grooming, and it's like, no, I'm gonna fuck, like just like I'm talking about like me and like another like full grown adult. Like this isn't, sometimes the conversation is like, like what if they're children, I'm like, don't bring your children to my show. Like if like this is what's going on in my show, it's like, like I'm not, so yeah, I think like the conversation needs to, like, would you bring your kid to a Lil Kim show? You know what fucking Lil Kim's about. Would you bring your kid to a Nicki Minaj? Like all these different things. And like that would be a conversation you would need to have, like with yourself. But like, yeah, like I think because it is a part of the human experience, it's something that we need to talk about and something that like I want to put into the world.
I don't know who shows up to a concert and doesn't know who who what you know what I'm saying, like,
Right, exactly.
and don't know at least a song, or a friend invited you and told you about the music that you're going to go see.
Right, right. That
Uh,
part.
all right, well, Chris, I appreciate you being on my show, Throwing Light. I would love to have you again in the future. I hope
Of
to see
course.
you work soon. I'm telling you, I'm trying to get up there. I'm gonna let you know. But I just wish you peace and protection and the ability to continue doing what you're doing and have these people respect you. So I think you're just yeah, I mean, you're necessary. Again, I talk about necessary people, but there's no other person like you. And if we didn't have you, Chris, who would be stirring the waves like you are? That would never happen. There's no one else doing you. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for talking. I really appreciate this too.
All right, well, that's it, y'all. So this is the end of Throwing Light. I'll catch y'all next Sunday. Where we have I do this every episode. I tell y'all who we're gonna have, and then I brain for it. So I'll see y'all next Sunday. But in the time being, I'm gonna say goodbye to Chris. Say goodbye to Chris to everyone. And
Bye.
remember, if you're not throwing lights, you're not acting right.
Nope.
Goodbye.